Powered by Riverside.
Welcome back to another draft, our third draft, guys. We're very excited. We do have the reigning champion from the first draft, and we haven't recorded the second draft by the time we're recording this draft yet. So right now, Alec, you are still the champ as of recording this third draft here.
Well, I'm the champ until I get knocked off the throne as far as I'm concerned. So I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, I am the defending champ, and so I have my national championship gear, and I'm excited to be here with another star-studded cast as always with you guys.
It is a very star-studded cast. Hopefully you enjoyed our traditions draft. Again, we haven't recorded that yet, so I don't know how it went, so I can't have any commentary on it. But we are recording this draft early, and we do have some very special guests. You heard Alec Keezer there from Voice of College Football, Indiana Voice of College Football. I'll be in particular with that. Also, Sig's Inside Pod. Tim, obviously, our Kirkwood co-host here. But then our new draftees here are Ben Buhr from Ann Arbor. He owns the West Side Sports Bar, the Sports Bar West Side. Sorry, I get that wrong every time, Ben. I apologize.
All good. It's all good.
Lifelong Michigan fan, someone who has a great knowledge of college football. I wanted to engage him somehow. Ben, you and I are actually going to try to record an interview that comes out before this podcast. So hopefully people get to meet you and talk about you, because we have to talk about Sharon more. No tipping picks, though. No tipping picks for villains. And then we have College Football with Sam. I mean, Sam is easily, in terms of the audience, the most known quantity on here. Sam, who's built a loyal following of college football fans, his encyclopedia knowledge of the game. He's also a Michigan fan, but you wouldn't know it because everyone accuses him of either being an Indiana fan or an Oregon fan or Ohio State fan. I don't know. It just depends on the week or who he's tweeting about when they're teasing him. Sam, thanks for being with us.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So let's just go into the draft. For those of you who don't know about this draft, maybe this is the first time, especially if you're a listener of one of these guys' audiences, we do a draft topic. And us five, we do a snake draft. So 25 picks. The topic today is the villains of college football. And it's like all-time villains, not just present, all-time villains of college football. So you're going to hear some historical references and all that fun stuff. We go through, we react to everybody's pick, but first we have to go over and pick our draft order. So I think the most attractive podcast producer ever, who refuses to come on camera, is off camera right now, but she is going to have a number in her head, and I'm going to go around, and then you all need to pick your draft order. So we'll start with college football with Sam. Sam, what is your pick number 1 through 5?
3.
All right, Sam, you got it right. First pick. So which do you want, or you get to pick first? Do you want to be first, second, third, fourth, or fifth pick?
I'll do 5th pick.
5th pick.
Ooh.
Man, I was going to do 5th pick.
Taking the
That's so
turn.
frustrating. All right. Ben, other new guest, picking number 2, 1 through 4.
2.
2. Nope. Tim?
3.
3. And I'm going to go 4. And so, Alec, you're number 1, so go ahead and pick. What would you like?
So it's already me.
Yeah, because we all got wrong.
So I'll take the first pick again.
How does it keep falling Alec had a first pick last time and just completely mopped the ground with us. So this is not a great start. Not a great start, boys.
No, I'll say I was a lot more confident in the board last time, so I don't know if this will be a good thing or not. But
yeah,
we'll
he
see.
said this last time, and then he's like coming up with creative names for every pick. Just everyone ate it up. All right, Ben, 1 through 3.
3.
3. All right, Ben, what do you want? Second, third, or fourth?
I'll go 3rd.
3rd. All right, Tim, 1 through 2.
2.
2. Tim, all right. Thanks, Marissa. Appreciate it. Tim, which you want? Second or fourth pick?
I'll take the second overall pick.
All right, second overall pick is Tim. All right, so the draft order for everybody at home or you're listening on audio: Alec Keezer from Voice of College Football is number 1, Tim, co-host of Kirkwood and Dunn, number 2, Ben Buhr, owner of the Sports Bar West Side, number 3, Trent, co-host of Kirkwood and Dunn, number 4, and College Football with Sam is going to be coming around the turn in the snake draft, so he'll get back-to-back picks. So with that, I hand it over to not the defending champion because he wasn't on the second draft, but the first draft defending champion, Alec Keezer.
When I initially texted you guys, I was like very, very confident about one entity on my board. And then I got a lot of pushback and I was a little bit confused. And I was like, okay, maybe this will go in a different direction. But I think hands down, the number one villain of all time for college football is the NCAA. Do I need to say more? We had Brian P. Lawton, the best damn lawyer in the land, and he called the NCAA, quote, an awful, awful organization. Pretty much all of the quote unquote problems you want to attribute to modern college football right now can be attributed back to the NCAA. I think they've had the opportunity to handle a lot of the things and they've just taken a step back. But there's a laundry list of problems with the organization itself that could be a whole podcast in and of itself. And so I pretty confidently select the NCAA as the number one all-time villain.
Any reaction to that, guys?
Hard to argue, honestly. I mean,
it's a little broad,
but
broad. I did take a note and I did do some research on who is the head legal counsel for the NCAA, because really, that's the person that is the bane of our existence. The guy that keeps trying to go back to court. That's really it. So there's probably fine other people that work at the NCAA, right? But it's the guy that's in charge of the legal counsel that's like, yeah, come on, guys, briefcase up. Let's go on back to it.
So that is a question. Is any people associated with the NCAA now off the board, or would you allow it to be taken? Because I think it should be taken. Like if there's an individual that represents the NCAA that you want to take later, I think you could take it.
Oh, I think 100%. You could take a historical figure, right? So like the current president would not be eligible, but if you wanted to take a previous president,
okay,
knock your socks off.
Alec, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think this is the 1-1 just because it's on my list, but just because they don't own the college football because of the court case in the 80s. Like they do eligibility rules, which is why you're picking them. But college football isn't them. So it wasn't my reaction, my 1-1 pick.
It's not. And I'm going to just jump in with my number 2 pick because there is a clear number 1-1. It's very easy. It's Jerry Sandusky. That's the number one villain of college football.
I didn't think that the draft was going to be.
Wow, Alec.
What a tone.
Big miss. Big miss by Alec.
Wow.
Holy cow.
I didn't want to have to do it.
Redo the board in real time.
The graphic is going to be super embarrassing that Alec did not pick the pedophile as number 1. Wow.
Holy cow.
I don't think there really needs to be a whole lot said. Pretty clear bad guy. Not good. So I don't want him on the team, but this is a villains draft. Pretty big all-time villain.
I was hoping that I would have a later pick and I could just come back at you guys that all of you missed this. We made it to the second pick before we could really land that plane. I agree that he was my number 1-1.
Number 1.
And not only
under the NCAA umbrella. Boom. How about that?
There you go.
He was sanctioned by the NCAA. He took,
they allowed it to happen. Joe Pod.
I was gonna say I can't tip other picks and stuff like that, but that story still is one of the craziest stories in college football, and it's still kind of murky. Things have not come out about it that people thought would come out, but the day that dropped was unreal, and obviously the downfall of Penn State at the time.
Yeah.
Any other reactions to that pick? It's a good pick.
No, I think we can all just confidently say
a tone setter for sure.
Yep, it's a tone setter.
Agree.
Yep. All right. Pulling up criminal records of coaches. All right. Ben Buhr. Let's go.
There's many more to choose from, guys. I did not take the only criminals on the board. There's lots of criminals to add to the villains.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 1 pick is more of a bias for me than anything, but it's Notre Dame, their football program in general.
Yeah.
Starting with the fact that starting the fact that they're academically and geographically a Big Ten school, but Duck being in the conference. Obviously, in the 80s and 90s, it was a money thing. NBC was paying them whatever. And as of now, like the Big Ten pays more money than NBC does, but obviously they still do what they're doing. Another reason is in 2012, I believe, when we were playing there, their athletic director walked up to ours and handed them a letter to end the series and give them the last guaranteed home game of it and then stop playing, which was kind of a bitch move. And then obviously what they did at the end of this year where they didn't make the playoffs, so they picked their ball up and went home and whined about it because the one team they were against, they beat them head to head. So, and obviously the committee didn't handle it great, but like when it's all said and done, you lost on the field and you didn't get in. So you don't end up going to your bowl game. And like, generally speaking, you lose bowl practices. Seniors are going to play their last game. I mean, I know the players did it, but the whole thing was just weird and kind of adds to their lore of just like, one of America's team that America hates.
Shout out Ben for taking that pick so we can clip it and just make everyone in South Bend and around very angry. So appreciate it. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for the content driver.
Well, it's a little tough, my best friend's nephew's a starting quarterback, so it's a little bit weird, but he can succeed as long and the team can lose. It's fine.
Any other thoughts on the pick?
I would say it makes me feel a lot better about my number one pick, given that the reaction to number 3 was like, "Oh, that's a good pick." Like after, because I feel all right after being almost blown off the board by pick 2. I feel like I'm back on track. That's what I'll say. But I agree. Like it's a good place to put him. I kind of struggled on where to put either the program or I'll kind of leave it at that for now. But kind of take your pick with if you want to remember them how they were or how they are. So that's what I'll say about that, but I like it.
Sam, you are like everyone knows who listens to your show and stuff like that. You're on the younger end of this board and someone who is in depth in college football, but a lot of the modern stuff. Do you consider Notre Dame as like a villain as maybe Ben who remembers the 80s Notre Dame and like the 90s Notre Dame and those type of things?
I mean, I would say maybe in a different way. I was talking about it with a friend that their fan base right now is one of the more obnoxious ones in the country, especially when you factor in like their achievements. So we've agreed that Ohio State's is obnoxious, Indiana's has become kind of obnoxious, but they've won titles recently, and Notre Dame like hasn't. They didn't even make the playoff last year. And there's this feeling from their side of things that they're about to like go on this massive revenge tour for something that really was their fault. Like just don't start off 0-2 and you get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Yeah, just beat Marcel Reed. It's not
like
that
don't
hard.
check the extra point to tie the game with no time left, whatever. Come on.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But go ahead, Sam.
Oh, no, I was just adding on to the point about Marcel Reed. That's a bad quarterback to lose to.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. They'll put up another clip of Jeremiah Love outrunning D'Angelo Pons to make them feel better, even though D'Angelo Pons basically almost caught up with them coming from the other side of the field. All right. So it is my pick, and I am torn between a couple, but I also had Jerry Sandusky. So where I'm going is Art Briles.
Ooh.
Also high up on my board.
Great you.
These stories of what was going on in the Baylor football program and how this guy in a sport that is pretty forgiving to people who do bad things. And this didn't seem to be on the Jerry Sandusky level of society of outcasts. Obviously, he didn't go to prison. But the fact that he is blackballed from Division I football for the longest time, I think he got some sort of job recently, but until it was forever. And Baylor was very good, very good and exciting. And they brought the veer and shoot offense to college football. You got, like what Josh Heupel's running at Tennessee is like Art Briles' tree. Like it is impressive what he was able to do. So he was an innovative mind. And what was happening at Baylor was so heinous that even SEC programs wouldn't hire him. And that's impressive. Yeah. That is impressive on the heinous scale for someone who didn't go to prison. So Art Briles is one of my top villains in college football. Reaction?
I think it's a great pick, honestly. I'm actually like mad at myself that I didn't think of that, but that was a crazy scandal. And like you said, their program is right on top. I mean, they were about to go to the playoff one year, like lost their last game to not get in. They were on the cusp of like getting consistently relevant, and the bottom fell out. You know, they've had a couple decent years with the guy that's there now. I can't remember, it's Dave, whatever his name is, but I mean, like for the most part, they've pretty been non-relevant since that went down.
Yeah, it was oh my gosh, Matt Rule, who like kind of brought them back after the Art Briles thing.
That's right.
But and with RG3 and those type of things. But Briles, man, yeah, he was there. Now his son was at Arkansas, but I don't know where he's at right now. Kendall Briles, who was also wrapped up in the scandal. A lot of people went down for that. It was pretty crazy. All right. Again, enough said. Go look that up. Go look at the Baylor scandal if you're a new listener and read about it. We don't need to go into details about what some of these people did. So it's good, but it's a interesting read to say the least. All right, Sam, you got 2 back-to-back picks. So why don't you give us your first one and then we'll talk about it and then we'll do your second.
So this I wanted to just do ESPN, but I thought that was a bit too broad. Just a bit too broad, because I mean it is like they cover everything. I think that's too broad, but there is one media company that mainly covers college football, almost exclusively does, that produces AI slop, that tries to buy everything up, and just isn't. I don't like them. I would say that would be On3. So On3 has tried to buy up like a ton of these podcasts. They like Pate's their biggest person they recently signed, and it really feels like a lot of the coverage they do of the sport isn't healthy for it, because it's either bland or it's misleading. It's very misleading, I would say, and it just creates this negative environment around a sport that already is going through tons of turmoil. And they constantly, speaking of misleading people, will say incorrect things, and then they, when caught with their pants down, will pretend like it never happened.
I didn't have them on my board, but it is a great pick. Like it was one of those that like you said it and I'm like, oh yeah, like that is totally thing. Shannon Terry, owner, CEO of On3. And the narratives that they especially when it comes to transfer portal and NIL amounts, and they just act like it's gospel, and they're getting it from agents, and other news outlets are running with it. And it is one of the more annoying things in the college football space, and it is all rooted in On3 right now. And there are some of their personalities that are on my board for sure. So great, great pick, Sam. Anyone else? Any reaction to that?
No, I think I caution to say more because, like Trent said, there may be other pieces to that may be on my board, but I didn't think that was out of place at all. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
All it did was spark an idea for me. So I've made notes for maybe a late round grab. I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that person. So we'll see if it gets back around to me. But I thought that was a really, really smart pick, because you experience On3 as part of your Twitter timeline for the most part. And it's sort of like, okay, recruiting news or whatever. But then it just becomes, wait a second, that isn't really true. Or like there's lots of other like foundational issues there. So I thought it was a really good pick by Sam.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Sam, you want to take your next one?
It would be Urban Meyer, but specifically with the caveat of Florida. That's what it would be. He does. There's not enough like stuff at Ohio State for that to be constituted as like bad person stuff. But the entire 2008 Florida team minus Tim Tebow, like over like a large percentage getting arrested, and the like Aaron Hernandez turning out to being like a terrible, dangerous individual. And then it's not just that. At Ohio State, he at least left it in a good place and like, you know, basically advised the program to promote Day, who's turned out to be a better coach than even he was. But at Florida, the entire thing imploded under his watch, and they've never really recovered from it.
Reactions to Urban Meyer.
I thought Tim's live reaction said it all.
Yeah.
I was so hoping Urban Meyer was going to get back to me. That Florida team is literally just a walking search warrant. Like, that was like should not be allowed. It was insane. And then, I mean, yes, he was able to withhold himself from recruiting criminals to Ohio State, but like couldn't really withhold himself at the bar late at night with some younger women around. So like, this guy,
include the Jags, I mean, it's not college football related, but like Urban Meyer at the Jags is a meme within itself.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, and don't forget at Ohio State, he had the Zach Smith thing, the assistant coach that he, that he kind of covered up for within the text that came out about that and all. And I know Zach Smith's now in the media and doing some stuff with some of our friends to the program, but like, it's still the thing about Urban Meyer was whenever it got hot and people started looking real closer, all of a sudden he had a cardiac incident or he needed
that. Yeah, that's fair.
So I will say,
questioning the validity of some of those.
I'm just saying, like stress when they're like, oh, were you covering up for, spousal abuse on your staff? And then it's like, ooh, heart, like, yeah, stress can get you, anxiety can get you. So I think that's fair. I'm not trying to totally diminish that. But I will say with Urban Meyer, for me, he's softened his image since he's been gone. Like since he's doing media stuff, I dislike him less than I did when he was a coach. So whatever that says, but like to Sam's point, Florida and Ohio State and all those fun things, what he did as a coach, he's a villain in college football history for sure. All right, let's swing back around. I just realized that it is me on this one, so I'm gonna take one. You just took a coach, and I know I'm not gonna get this coach back. I lost the draft last time, by the way. Like, for those that are listening, there is a mechanic in this draft that at the end we vote who has the worst board because Twitter only allows 4 people on the poll. So, like, we vote off who has the worst. Us 5 do. And I got voted off, and I'm worried that if I do it again, I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to go with it. Greg Sankey, SEC's commissioner. He's got to be in the first 2 rounds. So there are so many things that I could say about Greg Sankey that the reason why he's a villain in college football. And people could probably point the finger at the Big Ten commissioner, especially if you're sitting in the Big 12 conference or the ACC, as saying a lot of the same things. But it's mainly Greg Sankey's smugness that he gets on this board. And is like, you talked about ESPN earlier and like their personalities and like all that type of stuff. But their relationship with them and the network and all that fun stuff that pumps in the propaganda that drives from Greg Sankey's mouth to, we joke, Greg Sankey picked up the phone and called somebody to make sure that they're saying the talking points for the SEC. He is a villain. And honestly, when we look back and if there's a super conference and if you like the current structure, Greg Sankey is going to be on the Mount Rushmore of people that ruined what we knew of college football. So I'm gonna take Greg Sankey because I love college football, even outside the SEC. And that man, he does good as a commissioner for his own conference, but outside of that, not a fan. He's on there. I did ask an SEC person to come on this podcast, but we're recording on Easter, and all the SEC people can't do anything on Easter. Just letting you know. So it's south of the Mason-Dixon line, just shuts down on Easter Sunday. All right. Let's get reaction to that. Greg Sankey.
I'd say another one. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't tip picks, Ben. You can't say another bad name. You can't tip picks. Like, tell us who another name that you might take.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was just going to comment on yours, saying that's another one that I didn't think of. That's a really good pick, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I thought you were going to be like another name. So
No.
Yeah. Alec, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I thought it was interesting that you emphatically called him a second round pick because I do think he's a villain. But I thought that I thought it's an interesting spot to put him, especially as the way this board falls. Because like I do see what you're saying, but you could also take the opposite side of it, where it's like if you are like somebody who is anti-NCAA and he's the leading the charge to be the, I don't know. I think he absolutely belongs on the board. And I just thought the conviction was interesting. I thought it was a good spot too.
It's a good point. Alex calling me a hypocrite. It's fine. It's
No,
fine.
I'm not calling you a hypocrite.
No, it's okay, Alec. You can throw arrows at me being a hypocrite. It's totally fine. I'm cool.
Greg Sankey's on my board. What do you mean?
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
I thought
That's
it was
a good point
fine pick.
yeah, he's driving the bus with the Big Ten and taking down some old institutions. So some people that might be a white knight type situation. All right, Ben. Sorry, now it's your pick.
Oh no, you're good. I'm gonna go. My next pick is gonna be Connor Stallions.
Ooh.
Whatever side you're on with
Michigan.
whichever side you're on with your opinion on what it was. I mean, there's no argument it was a massive scandal nationally. It was talked about every day of every week leading up to, the end of the season and the playoff and the national championship, whatever. And it, depending on your opinion, it hangs a cloud over that national title. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Reaction, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the aftermath of that doesn't help either, where he's constantly trying to make himself public. So just reminds people of like that whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny. I was going to say over at Indiana at the Voice of College Football, my co-host likes to laugh and say, like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But like the Stallions thing where he was just kind of picking signs, you know what I mean? Like, what was he like, quote unquote, cheating, or was there alleged like spying or stealing, or the unethicality of what was going on there? I'm not sure, but I thought he was going to be on this board. I didn't think it was going to come from a Michigan fan.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, Michigan fan or not, I mean, that it is what it is, but also like it's a big gray area. Is he just a savant? Was it the advanced scouting, like all that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, and where do you land?
Ben is
Everyone's
building a
doing
good
it
board.
too. You know what I mean?
100%.
Obviously, if you get caught, you get caught, or whatever. But
Lots of people hate Connor Stallions. So like lots of people pick him as a villain. I think some of us are kind of like, I don't know, I guess, but like whatever. But plenty of people, particularly in a state of Ohio, think Connor Stallions might as well be executed on Pennsylvania Avenue. So like this is a good pick. It absolutely should have been taken here.
Well,
No,
the crazy
100%.
thing is, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in my own head, I would feel like the Michigan fans would defend him. So to hear the Michigan fans stated bluntly that, like, no, that was pretty, like it was cheating and he should be viewed as a villain. It helps the perspective for somebody like me. It was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, you saw after he was suspended that the team didn't need him. So from my perspective, it was just better off if he never like existed. So that way there'd be no questioning of it.
Yeah,
and you got to realize if you follow Ben on Twitter, he is maybe more critical of Michigan than outside of Michigan people. He's one of those fans that are like, yeah, we're going to hold us to ourselves to a higher standard. And like, he will call a spade if somebody's not good, or if someone even on Ohio State is really good, he'll say they're really good and, get mad at Michigan fans who downplay like seeing like not normal stuff. Sorry, Ben, you've been interrupted a couple times. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to say, like, Tim bringing up the Ohio State thing. It's like, that documentary that was on Netflix was made by Ohio State people, Maverick Carter and LeBron James, and like when they had Maverick Carter was on McAfee and he was talking about how him and Connor Stallions from that documentary, like best friends, and they talk all the time. So it's funny that a couple of Ohio State guys made this documentary that like, that he's defending himself and how he did it. It's just kind of, I thought that was kind of ironic.
My comment on it is I didn't have him on my board because as Indiana fans who have been accused of cheating and using AI and spying and stealing for the last 2 months of the season because we're just so dominant, I embrace any advantage and angle that you get. If it comes out that Indiana was doing something nefarious to lead up to it, that was within at least blurry rules or not against the law, we won a national title. Like, I mean, that's just kind of how I am. So I didn't consider College Stallions a villain. And there is also, and I've looked for it, I cannot find it, but there was a report, probably from On3, Sam, that was put out during the time that all these Big Ten teams, it was found out that they all kind of were doing sign stealing, except for Indiana. Like Indiana, Tom Allen was like looking around, and they were one of the only ones not doing it. So
that tracks.
Yeah, 100% that tracks. They're like, wait, you guys are stealing signs? Like, no one told us about this. So, yeah, College Stallions would be not on my board for that reason. Yeah. Tim?
All right, this is a really tough spot. Alec got the first overall pick. I wanted to situate myself close to Alec because I think Alec has something that I'm going to pick here. So I recognize that this pick I'm going to pick right now at number 9 overall is probably a reach here, but it's more because I don't trust it to get past Alec twice or Trent on the sort of wraparound here. And Trent, this is where you need to have the swear buzzer ready. It's Kevin Warren. Okay?
No.
This guy, he's ruining my pro team's life, jostling around with stadium. And then in COVID, he sets all the rules. We're all living with a bunch of rules. That's all we got. We all got nothing but rules all the time. And it's if you play the games, it's whoever's going to win. And then what does he do? He just decides, nope, don't like those rules. We need to make some money. Let's put Ohio State in the championship game for the conference. You, Indiana. Nope, pulling that out.
Forgot about that.
Absolute villain, Kevin Warren.
That's pick of the draft. God damn it. Oh my, I'm sorry. That is pick of the draft.
All the people are going to hear for that pick is beep, 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 beep the whole time. Just know that Tim is very angry at Kevin Warren.
Just
Alec, why is
change
that
the rules mid-season. Just was
really
like,
bad.
nope, totally. All right, now we're going to do something totally different. Unbelievable that he did it. Unbelievable that it doesn't get more flack. It didn't get talked about more because everybody wanted to just crab on, little Indiana. Everybody was like, yeah, fine, you're not, whatever. If that was any other team, if that was Michigan in the same spot and like whatever else, no chance that happens. No chance. But it was little old Indiana, so they pulled the plug.
But I mean, I think it's a really good pick. If Tom Allen wins the Big Ten, does he get enough of a leash to where Signetti
Great point, Sam.
never comes?
Great point, Sam.
Exactly.
This
Kevin
is why,
Warren
like,
had
the
to do
Micah
this to us.
McFadden targeting call against Cincinnati, one of the most egregious calls in college football, led to Kurt Signetti. So, you know what? Great call, Sam. Great call.
All roads have led to Kurt Signetti, so I guess to that regard, all roads are good. But unbelievable.
Jerry
Kevin
Sandusky
Warren.
and Kevin Warren.
Yeah, what a board.
Scary.
That is an
Bad
incredible
luck for
board.
Kevin Warren to be listed next to it, but you know what? Hey, that's what you get, buddy.
No, Tim's absolutely right, and I can't believe he just took it here and it was not getting back to him. I was literally taking it with my next pick, but it's like, to be honest, also he did it more justice than I could have done with the reaction. So, but he's absolutely right. They set the rules and then changed the rules mid-season because it was more of a benefit for the conference, let alone like what the actual integrity of the rules you created were. And like, if we're talking about like villain and you're talking about villainous acts, to steal that opportunity from that Indiana team, one of the most despicable things that's happened over the course of NCAA history that Tim's right doesn't get talked about nearly enough. And so, yeah, that absolutely deserved the rant it just got. Kevin Warren, perfect position on this board for him. Right? He deserves it.
It would have been the Big Ten championship game of Northwestern or Indiana quarterback Jack Tuttle, because Michael Penix had gotten injured by that point, and Northwestern quarterback Peyton Ramsey. Indiana quarterbacks playing against each other in the 2020.
And we got robbed of that.
You know what? From a financial perspective, I kind of understand why Kevin Warren did it. that banner of a college football Big Ten final.
That would have been unwatchable.
And if you want evidence that it was unwatchable, go rewatch that, which was a great game for me as an Indiana fan, but the Wisconsin-Indiana game that year with Jack Tuttle up in Madison. Brutal watch. But we won. So that's what matters. Oh man, great pick, Tim. Great pick. Alec?
I mean, I had to adjust the board a little bit at mid freak out as Tim just absolutely stole the. It was like in fantasy football when you have a guy in the queue for like 2 days and you're like, don't worry, like during the draft, like at ADP, I'll be slightly above. No. So I'm going to go with Cody Campbell, who I think you could make the argument is somebody who is actually trying to ruin college football. And he is a billionaire owner who has for whatever reason has decided to push the SCORE Act and has positioned himself as somebody who is going to be the savior of college football. And what he's basically saying is, I'm a billionaire. I want to protect the rest of college football from people like me. So here, let's put all these rules on it. And it's like, wait a second. At the end of the day, who is all of this helping? Because all they're trying to do really is put a cap on what the athletes can earn without giving them the proper protections for it. And he is the ringleader for all of that. And to try and do it in a way that deceives the general public and what is actually going on, I think he checks all the boxes. So Texas Tech super booster Cody Campbell, he's my pick.
I did not have him on my board. I think you make a convincing argument for him. The man can't buy an NFL team, so basically he's just going to be Jerry's World down in college football and do his thing. Wow, that's I mean, it's a pick.
It's a good
pick. Yeah,
it's a ball knower pick. You know,
it is a ball knower pick. That's a deep cut.
If our audience is really voting along, you know, and knows what they're talking about, they recognize Cody Campbell is not a friend to college football, actually.
No.
Basically, we have Sam's audience and Indiana Voice of College Football audience listening, and they're probably agreeing with you. If we have the Sports Bar West Side audience or West Side Sports Bar coming in, they are not going to agree because they don't know. Because Ben and I fight non-ball knowers at the bar all the time.
I do think that him pouring money into Texas Tech is a good thing, but that probably doesn't overcome like other wider areas that would have more severe consequences. Like Texas Tech poaching recruits that other Big End schools would get is both hilarious and I think helpful to other programs that aren't, you know, Georgia, Alabama, SEC, Ohio State, like even Oregon now. But yeah, I mean, the SCORE Act, I hate the NCAA. I do not trust them. I think that a collective bargaining agreement is the only path forward for the sport. And I kind of don't even know if I want that either. So yeah, good pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Ben, any reaction to billionaires getting involved, like paying freshman quarterbacks $10 million, you know, those type of things?
I don't know anything about that. No. Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. You know, it's like it's weird because like if you're in one of these categories, like the schools Sam mentioned, or like, you know, Michigan, Indiana, Texas Tech, where you have these big time money people that are backing your guys and paying people. I guess on one hand, it's nice to be one of the haves, but also like I just think it's bad for the sport in general overall. So it's just kind of a weird line for me, but you want your teams to be, when you're a fan of a team like Michigan or Indiana, the way you guys are rolling or whatever, like you want your team to be good. You want to get the players. This is the way they're doing it now. But the whole thing just seems weird. That just seems a little dirty. You know, like pay for, like NIL was never really supposed to be about pay for play. You know, it was like, you can, you know, get a commercial, you can be on a cereal box, you can do whatever, you can host a party, whatever. But like, it wasn't supposed to be a situation where, you know, millions of dollars to play the game. And like, obviously I want people to get their money, but it's just, that's not what NIL is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, Alec, you want to take your second pick here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm fully prepared for this to be struck down because it is a little bit broad, and I know Sam stayed away from it at the end of the first round, I believe, but I'm going to go with ESPN's coverage of or the narratives they were trying to push from the end of 2024 to the Rose Bowl 2026, essentially trying to keep in position that the SEC is the dominant conference in college football to the point where they wouldn't even put any respect on the fact that teams like Indiana, teams like Oregon were dominating not just the Big Ten, but what should have been in the national conversation, culminating in those guys sitting in the booth and watching Indiana push Alabama around. And that's kind of when it felt like that narrative completely died. So I'm going to say the narrative being pushed out from the worldwide leader on college football, specifically from December 2024 through the Rose Bowl 2026. Now, I'm also prepared for that to be struck down.
Yeah, the time frame, like how you're trying to be specific about the time range, is probably like, I mean, they're only villains during this little time frame, and then outside. I mean, ESPN has done villainous things for a really long time when it comes to college football and media brands.
That's what I'm trying to
and all that
section
fun
it.
stuff.
I'm trying to section it off to leave.
I would propose a small amendment, which is because I had a similar thing on my board, right? I mean, I don't think we can just write ESPN, but I understand what you're getting at. I would more specifically put in ESPN's Jimmy Pitaro as the head of ESPN, that he's trying to drive money and revenue into his property that he's purchasing, which is SEC football and whatever else. So like Jimmy Pitaro is the villain. ESPN probably has still plenty of good people or whatever else that is fine, but like that's where all this comes from, right? It comes from the guy running the balance sheet and having to report to shareholders. So I think like Jimmy Pitaro is the villain. I don't know if it's like their college football cover. Like that is too broad in my mind. Or ESPN is just a little too broad.
Yeah. I mean, the
go ahead,
oh,
Sam.
sorry.
No, please
no.
go.
No, the SEC bias from ESPN, and this is like part of the reason I put on 3 up here too. It's been quite horrific in a lot of regards. I mean, the whole Alabama is going to beat Indiana due to size is, I think, something that needs to be talked about every week as a lesson of like, hey, do not do this when trying to pick a game, because it's disgustingly intellectually dishonest, to probably use improper grammar there, putting 2 ly adverbs back to back. But it's true. It's bad. I mean, I would say maybe it's a bit vague. I don't know if it's broad, or broad and vague might be the same, similar. But I would probably I think it's a bit broad, but I understand the direction it's going in. It's a lot similar to my on 3-1.
See, I would be more comfortable with him just saying ESPN, and I know it's broad, but like you can take personalities later. But we know that there's been a concerted effort at ESPN to like I mean, I'm not trying to make the pick for Alec or trying to convince the audience of it, but you could look at how the college football is like college football playoff is structured, how the committee show is structured, like all these different things that ESPN's responsible for. They own the properties, they own all the bowl games, like all those type of things. So like, I think ESPN, just like the NCAA, there is a level of an entity there that could be a part of it with it. So, Alec, your pick, I wrote down ESPN college football coverage. I'm probably not going to do that time range thing that you're doing, if that's okay. But does anyone want to formally veto that pick? That's saying that's too broad.
I don't.
Okay. Well,
cool.
Alec, we're going to go with it then. Yep, good stuff. All right. So as I think, Tim, if you want to give your pick before you fix your camera, I know you're trying to do some stuff over there with it, and then make me have to do 1,000.
Listen, the audience is fun. Now we just get the full Natty Championship logo in the back.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Thanks for the editing stuff that I'm going to have to do now because
you're welcome.
You switch tracks. Yep,
anytime.
All right.
I just have a bad webcam. All right, I've got quite the banger headliners of Jerry Sandusky and Kevin Warren. Pretty good 1-2 combo in terms of villains. There's a couple I like. I think I can still get some of these later, but I need a villain that is maybe not what I think should be criminally charged. Let's just say generally fun. And I'm going to go with the player more than some other people I think would think is like the player that represents like villain behavior, but I think is more on the fun side of villain, and that's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield really kicked things off when he took that Oklahoma team to the shoe at Ohio State and then plants a flag right in their face. And I mean, he was shoving things into all kinds of guys' faces. Like, he was really, really fun player to watch. And I'm sure if my team had to play Baker Mayfield, I would want them to decapitate him. But he was a really, really fun watch. And I loved how much everybody hated Baker Mayfield. So I needed a fun villain to go along with my should be persecuted and charged and put behind bars sets of villains. Really want to diversify the team. So Baker Mayfield is my pick here in the third round.
Reaction?
I think it's a great pick. I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, that was like maybe the first like flag planting situation.
Yeah.
And it was talked about a ton. Obviously the whole, Michigan copied it, going to Ohio State, and it became a thing. But like that was the first of its kind of, and it was a big win for them on the road. And I think it's a good pick.
I think that was one of the interesting things for me about this draft is like you could take villains that you kind of like I like Baker Mayfield, but I understand why you took him in as a villain. And there are other guys on here that I liked watching as a fan, not of the rival team or something like that, that would definitely be a villain, or coaches that would definitely be a villain. So I think that's a good pick. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry about that.
No, I was just going to piggyback off of what you said. I was stunned to hear Baker, but to hear the case being made for him, it makes sense. And to Trent's point, like, I liked watching Baker Mayfield in college, but I also remember the things he was doing and some of the antics and how he could be viewed in that other light. So I was a little surprised to see him on the board, but then to the explanation made sense.
I am definitely surprised he's the first player off the list. Like
Tim's Tim's board is.
I can't wait to make that graphic.
Wait until I've got some sleepers that are coming in rounds 4 and 5. I'm going to have a banger card.
All right, Ben.
So we're going back and forth. I was kind of like in the same camp as Tim, as like, a player or a team that's kind of like that. It's the Miami Hurricanes of the 80s.
Like that.
They made an entire rule book of rules of things you couldn't do because of what they were doing as their team alone. Every time they played someone, the taunting, the dancing, the outright just talking of whoever they were playing. They knew how good they were. They knew they were better. And obviously they won, but a good amount of national, like 3 titles maybe in the 80s. They could have won 6. And it got to the point where like there was 2 sides of the coin. You either really liked them or you were like hoping they would lose, kind of thing. And so I think like for a 6 or 7 year window there in the 80s, they were just, when it came to those kind of antics, they were definitely hated and villainous for sure.
When you get a 30 for 30 made about you, like, and the whole tone of the 30 for 30 is everyone in college football hated you because of your being a disruptor, you've got to be on this board. So that's a great pick, Ben. Any other reactions?
No, the rule book thing is funny to put it that way when it's like when they actually invented a whole bunch of rules because of it's like, it actually it pretty much justifies. Maybe should have been picked a little sooner.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. That's good. And the culture is carried over. Like we experienced that as Indiana fans, like into this year, like the culture of that attitude and all that type of stuff is still there. And obviously Mario Cristobal was right in the thick of it. And he's somebody that perpetuates that. Sorry if that's kind of a tip pick. So in case someone's taking that later. Okay. My reaction or my next pick here, I have to do something that represents what I think is a dismantling of some of the things I do love about college football. And that's going to be the University of Texas and the Longhorn Network. So the University of Texas started the Longhorn Network back in the mid-2000s, I believe.
Yes.
And this was the third-party thing that they created, a media company that ESPN paid them at the time a ridiculous amount of money. It's kind of pales in comparison now. But what happened with the Longhorn Network was Texas was getting money outside of the Big 12's contract. And might I remind you that the Big 12, which was originally the Big 8, saved those Southwest Conference teams like Texas A&M, Arkansas had jumped to the SEC at that point, but Baylor, like all these other teams they had brought into their conference. And Texas goes and signs this media rights deal because it was all about the number of cable subscribers, and Texas was huge in the state of Texas, and ESPN wanted that. And that signing and creation of that network, which failed miserably, ended up pushing Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado to look for other options and Texas held the Big 12 hostage with these third-party rights, and the media, they weren't collectively bargaining all their media rights because Texas didn't want to give up control of that. And Texas almost jumped to the Pac-12 during the time that Colorado jumped over to the Pac-12, but they didn't because of the Longhorn Network. All that stuff. I know Penn State in the early 90s was the first real conference realignment activity with the Big Ten adding Penn State, but really the Longhorn Network kind of in terms of media rights and all the shakeup that we've seen was the reason why we don't have regional conferences anymore. So the Longhorn Network in Texas is my third pick. All right, no reaction.
No. I mean, it is. You summed it up. It is. What is the problem with all conference realignment now? It's all just about schools trying to get their football team into a conference to get the most amount of money, and it sucks.
Was one of the biggest cracks in the to hear it laid out like that. I've never heard the Longhorn Network, like the spotlight, be put on it in that regard, but to frame it as the number one reason why we saw Texas ultimately be able to control their own destiny and then destroy what was their involvement in the Big 12 by jumping to the SEC. Yeah, it's just an interesting way to see that framed. So it's like the Longhorn Network. I'm trying to think of have I even heard them referenced in so it's like that was the reason for the lack of reaction was okay, Longhorn Network. That's an insane connection to make between that and now it's what a fracture that created.
Yeah.
So I would like to say that I'm just an expert at college football and a deep ball knower, but you also got to remember I went to Kansas State University and undergrad at Kansas State at the time this was created. And so very, very, very aware of the planes that it set and tiers that it set inside the Big 12 and how pissed off Nebraska in particular was about everything going on, because Nebraska was at the time still a big power, right? And they think they are now, but they actually were back then. And their reaction to what Texas was doing and Texas bullying everybody was Nebraska was looking first, and I think Missouri actually jumped first. But in Texas A&M ended up jumping because of the Texas deal, all that fun stuff. Sam, you were going to say some stuff.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with that.
Yeah. It's go look it up. It's not great, and the fact that it failed so bad is one of the best parts. No one wanted to play on it because it was just all Texas money, and so no one wanted to play on it. So you're paying all this money for the Texas Longhorn Network for absolutely no content, which is hilarious.
Yeah, all the big games, basketball, football-wise, are still on the main network. So it's like watching Big Ten Plus and wrestling or volleyball or something. It's no disrespect to those sports, but no one's really watching that. And if you're going to take Texas football and put it on ABC when they should be on their own network, it's just the flop of that was pretty funny.
Yeah. All right, Sam, you got back to back here.
So my first one's going to be the college football playoff, just in general, but specifically the committee. If the college football playoff's too broad. This
do you not like the playoff game, Sam?
Yeah, wait. I want to hear you argue. I think I'd rather hear you argue that.
Do you want BCS back? What's your AP voters?
It mainly has to do with the committee.
Okay. The committee is definitely a villain. I'm supportive of that. Okay.
No. The whole thing of the need to include the G5 when at this point they're never going to win it, so you're pushing out better programs who have more merit to get in. That's pretty wrong. The random changing of rules or inconsistencies depending on the year is a mistake. So I will cite TCU getting pushed out for Ohio State in 2014, I will cite Wisconsin getting pushed out in 2018 in favor of Alabama. I will cite in 2023 Florida State being snubbed. No disrespect to SMU that year, but with that easy of a schedule, South Carolina or Alabama probably deserves to get in ahead of you. And then, last year, like, I agree that Notre Dame should have been left out, but don't rank them that high early in the process, and you never get the cancerous interaction about that. And same with last year getting 2 G5 teams and like, okay, congratulations, Oregon and Ole Miss. You get a practice round to warm up for your next game. and it was just some of the most unwatchable like content ever, where I think Ole Miss beat Tulane like 86-20 combined in both games. And then Oregon just effortlessly hung 60 on James Madison like it was nothing. It just, they are trying to expand it to 24 and maybe even beyond that. And at that point, I mean, what even is the regular season anymore?
Yeah.
Reactions, guys?
Yeah, I was going to say that the group of 5 argument kind of died on the vine when you have Ole Miss relining up with a Tulane team that they'd beaten by 20 or 30 already. But yeah, when you initially said the college football playoff, I was like, holy cow, like I could not believe what kind of slant you were. But the committee makes perfect sense. Like the changing of the narratives, the fact that Alabama was the only, like you said, like Notre Dame, should they have been in? Should not have they been in? Alabama being the only team to lose in the conference championship game and not back out this year, like not having a set standard of rules you're going to work with and essentially going by the ratings each week, like you're a reality TV show when you're trying to be a governing body of sorts in the sport or trying to retain any sort of credibility, is you can't have it both ways. Like, do you want the ratings? Do you want the craziness? Or do you want to be a credible ratings organization? So yeah, I think that if you want to call the college football playoff committee a villain for essentially creating all of these narratives that these fan bases have been fighting about, yeah, I think that they belong on the list for sure.
Tim, Ben?
I guess the only thing I'm thinking about is that, when you're talking about like the conference, like Alabama losing their championship game and still getting in, like this whole, like, you can't play in the title game and get punished for it if you lose. Like that happened to Georgia in 2023. They win that game 12 or 13-0 and lost and got left out of the playoff when they were maybe the best team in the country. Obviously, Michigan's in that mix in 23 as well. But, just the inconsistencies of the committee, like you said, how they ranked Notre Dame all year. And like when I brought Notre Dame up earlier, like the way they handled it just was awful, So yeah, I think the committee is a great call.
My only criticism of the pick is that it's just basically a derivative of ESPN. ESPN owns the college football playoff.
That's fair.
So it is, the weekly show creates half of these problems anyway, but ESPN needs to sell the TV show. So you're getting kind of those things in there. And some of this is the rules that then the schools came up with of like, well, we have to include a G5 so we avoid antitrust laws. The top 4 seeds having to be conference champions from the first year. Some of it was the committee was kind of like had their hand tied behind their back in some ways, but they also just did do dumb things. Like there was, to me, the biggest thing was there was no reason for Notre Dame to be ranked above Miami, just none. And to start that process, and then we had to have this awkward flip when Miami didn't choke away. Surprising, I know. I would have voted on Miami to choke away too, but like Miami didn't, and then we had to have this awkward flip at the end. So it was tough, but I do think it is very similar to some of our other picks.
That Miami don't choke it away. That reminds me of this meme on Twitter where it's like, Shannon Dawson, you can run for 300 yards on Ole Miss or take 10 cards, and he takes the 10 cards as they almost blow it to Ole Miss by forcing Beck to like run an air raid attack in the fourth quarter.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so there's 2 questions I have. Sam, didn't you see them take off their hats as they went into the room? Like they are noble. They took off their hats, they hung it up on there. By the way, I'm going to insert graphics and stuff, and that video might be what I'm going to put on there, is them putting their hats onto the hat rack as they walk into the room to do picks.
So why, like, I understand you have to have humans as a part of the equation, but why can't you have like people that aren't shown on TV that are just paid to like collect the data and watch the games and make that determination?
Or just have
Like,
a
you could probably-
better collection. That would be a good argument too, which is like they just put like athletic directors in there and like old coaches. It's like maybe
And
put
Condoleezza
some-
Rice.
Yeah, like put some like smarter people. Put like I would be happier if it was just like the PFF college football division in the as the committee. Like, okay, these are
Well, they all got laid off.
Well, yeah, but, you know.
maybe they will do it this time.
whatever. But you get where I'm going. Like, I think the problem is also the makeup of the committee is like a bunch of old farts that like don't really have any business actually picking these 12 teams.
It just seems like a lot of recycled, like, just like it's like they hire the same coaches at different schools. It seems like they're just bringing in like the same kind of old heads that feel like they deserve to be there, should be there when they probably shouldn't.
There's some veteran coach that is like they just announced is going to join the playoff committee. I cannot remember who it is, but it was one of those you're just like, oh gosh, here we go. Just another guy they're going to retread that they're going to put in there. The next thing that I'm going to say about the pick, Sam, is there is a G5, G6, whatever podcast out there that's doing a draft of villains of college football, and they're taking college football with Sam because he is absolutely crapping on the group of 5, group of 6 here. Not belong. So, hey, you know what? Lean into your villain arc, Sam.
Sure. I mean, look, Michigan had someone who was more concerned with his 5th appendage than the football team, and they would have beaten Tulane by like 3 touchdowns with a much better head coach. So I don't care.
Like, fair.
It
fair.
sucks, but it happens.
Somebody's got to tell the truth.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Sam, next pick.
Next pick would be this is tough. I kind of hate this because I liked the idea of it working. But I'm going to go with Deion Sanders. That's what I'm going to go with, both as a player and as a coach. So the player part, I think, is obvious. He was really good in college, like supremely good, and people just hate supremely good, whether like good or bad person. I don't think he was. I don't think he is a bad person in like as a head coach or as a player. But when you're that good and you're dominating the field, and you're a part of like a Florida State program that under Bobby Bowden was new and they were good and they were a dynasty, that gets annoying pretty quickly. The other part of it is his tenure at Jackson State in Colorado, where he got a lot of media coverage, made Colorado a lot of money by bringing in the worst type of fan into the college football space. The type of fan that worships a specific person or idea, and when it's exposed to not be so good, they refuse to admit that it's not good. So like Shedeur Sanders, that falls under this. The fact that we are having people like accuse the government of creating a psyop, and that is why he sucks, and it's not that, well, he's just not actually an NFL quarterback. That falls under this. We're like perfect protection. He has good receivers, and he throws it right to the NFL linebacker. Or in college against Nebraska, like one of the only good teams they played that year, throws a pick 6, is missing open players, just doesn't look all that good. Or just really for the and if you said any of these things, you'd get labeled a bunch of names. You'd be called not a good person. You'd have to go on the defense because they knew how to push certain cultural buttons. That, I think, is just like that's typical villain behavior. I know a lot of it's unintentional, but bringing those type of fans into the sport at large it's diabolical.
Reaction?
I think it's a good pick. He was on my board. I think I cared less about Deion Sanders, the player, as a villain, but Deion Sanders as the coach feels a little too, like programs trying to get cute. Like, oh, okay, well, we'll hire assistants to do the X's and O's. We just need the figurehead, right? UNC going to hire Bill Belichick is like an alternate world version of this. Of like, all right, but yes, but it's Bill Belichick, so then everything else will work out. And it's kind of like not actually true at all. I do think everybody got way too excited. I mean, going back to go watch that Gus Johnson called game against TCU when he was like, oh my God, Colorado's going to win the national title, basically. Like, it was insane. We were getting so much Deion shoved down our throats. And now, nowhere to be found. I mean, like, he is still literally the coach, yes, but they're not going anywhere as a program anymore.
Remember the FanDuel post of what would the odds be in 2019 LSU versus 2023 Colorado
right,
when they started off 3-0?
Yeah.
That whole thing, and this is why I have it on the board, helped create like the current On3
universe,
gambling setting cycle of outrage that is just cancerous.
Yeah, I think, and on the other side, if you want to be like a positive, like if you're a Deion Sanders fan, at least especially as a player, like the villain arc is like something I think he embraces. I mean, the guy goes by Prime, right? Like he knows he's garnering a lot of attention. He doesn't mind the attention. He will play off like, why are you always talking about me when he wants you always talking about him? Like it is typical, like you said, villainous behavior that like kind of like Baker Mayfield, like even if you're a fan of Deion, I don't think you're mad that he's on a villain board because that's the role he's trying to play. Honestly, right now, because they're so bad, and they're probably going to be bad as we record this in May 2026, like it's sad because like he has nothing even like to back it up and all that stuff. And so like at least when they were good with Travis Hunter and Shador and all this stuff, you were like, I don't like him in terms of him being a villain in college football, but they are winning games. Now they just aren't even doing that, and it's almost sad. Plus, yeah, it's definitely the case. So,
I would only say that as I don't want to say a Shador truther, but I guess a borderline believer that I think at one point before this past season when somebody broke it, I would have to go back and look, that he was the all-time leading most accurate passer in a season for college football. So I was like, there was some production stuff there where it wasn't just like being propped up by the media. But no, I completely get that Deion Sanders is like, because of the way he's positioned himself, because of the personalities that he brought into the program, not just the players, because I think that's almost like a different part of that, because I think a lot of the players that he put the spotlight on in the program, it was actually a good thing. But some of the coaches that he brought around and some of the negative attention that he brought into the program, like Sam alluded to, and the uneducated takes that came out of like anybody saying that the process may or may not be the right one, right? And just trying to logically question the roster building and college football creation process. The negative pushback towards that was ridiculous. So I get it on the list.
Also, Shiloh Sanders, shout out to him for putting a guy's head through cement and putting him on disability. Wonderful person. Wonderful person we're talking about here. So shout out to him.
I mean, the fact that like, and to cap that off, is like they retired the jersey of the Travis Hunter and Shador the last game of the season while they're still there is just I get it.
What was their record? Like 17-7 or like it wasn't even.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
Generational player, and they went 8-4 or like in their last season. Okay, I'm up, and there are 3 people on here that I have to choose from, and it's really hard to choose from here. But I'm looking at my board, and there's a couple. If I take this one, I know I'm just going to be criticized for being a certain hater of something. So I'm going to kind of break it out here and go with a man who maybe had not been totally found responsible for manslaughter, but he still is a terrible person as everything is reported around him, and that's Brian Kelly.
I had him on
Former
my
LSU
list.
and Notre Dame coach, Brian Kelly. So what I'm alluding to is Brian Kelly was in court documents, again, wasn't arrested or anything like that, but was alluded to and was found culpable of pushing a student manager to go on top of a lift at Notre Dame. Unfortunately, that wind was so high, it ended up killing the student manager. It was one of the sadder things in college football, especially like the tweets at the time. Like the kid was putting out tweets complaining about the wind, and Brian Kelly comes out. And that alone, like, as a head coach, like you're a head of the organization, that stuff, it's not like it happens. Like it doesn't happen very often where head coaches are responsible for killing kids, but like you could somewhat be a little bit understanding or like forgiveness and like the actions that maybe they take after it is there. But then it comes out about how he treats people around the program. There's the famous Robert Saleh and like the graduate assistants that were at Central Michigan with him that he made stand outside in the snow, valeting, never tipped them, never thanked them or anything. Like everything you read about the way that he operates around, especially people under him, has not been good coverage. Then add on top of that, his antics on the sidelines, his antics in the press conference, his dry humping of a recruit at LSU in that famous viral video clip. There are just number of things that Brian Kelly goes on this list as a villain, and add that on to the very serious part. Brian Kelly is one of the all-time villains of college football, and I honestly think we probably would have taken him in the first round if he was still active in college football. But as of this time, he's not getting any looks because I think people know his reputation. So Brian Kelly is on my list.
Good pick. I would have gone with scissor lifts, but it's the same thing. It was he needed to be taken because he's just legitimately a bad person.
Yeah.
Yes.
1,000%.
Yeah,
And
I was
go Sam.
I was so happy when Texas A&M destroyed them in Baton Rouge last year.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling, okay, yup, this is so bad they're going to finally fire him. And they did.
I didn't bring up the is it Kylon Lacey? No, that's the Ole Miss running back. Who was the receiver that tragically passed away at LSU last year, 2 years ago?
Number 2, what was his name?
His driver. Anyways, if someone looks that up and sees it, it's there. But like Brian, like the stories around that, where like Brian Kelly didn't even reach out to the family, and like all the mess around his mental health and like not being there as a program. Yeah, man, it just is like all the one story standalone. You're like, okay, maybe there's more to the story, but then you get like thousands of these little stories, and you're like, oh, this guy is the worst, just the absolute worst. So, all right, Ben.
All right, so my next pick, I'm going to go with Lane Kiffin. From, getting fired on the tarmac at USC to his disastrous, run with the Raiders to getting fired the week before the national title game in Alabama to then going to FAU and kind of rehabilitating his image to then get back to Ole Miss and actually start building something. It looked like something cool was going on there. And this year, they 11-1 and they're in the playoff. And he takes the LSU job with their team going to the playoff with the whole more money, more resources, better opportunity thing. Which maybe all those things are true, but I mean, I felt like what he was building at Ole Miss is pretty solid, and he just basically ran for what people think's the better, whatever. So yeah, that's Lane Kiffin.
Reaction?
I had a feeling he was going to get picked. I feel like you could go a couple of different angles with his specific situation. So I'm going to, as the dogs fight each other, I'm going to hold it because I think there's some meat on that bone, but fitting for sure. And I don't know if I would call him a villain just personally because like for a lot of the things you just laid out, it was like the money was better, a lot of the different people advising him and the situation he was put in. But yeah, it's that is a villain arc for many, many people.
Lane Kiffin, I'm a Lane Kiffin guy. Like, we talk about a lot on the podcast, like his brashness, his social media, like the things that he does to like just make people angry, especially on social media, like cracks me up. And I think he's a, darn good football coach, like also. Like he's a great offensive mind.
No doubt.
Having said that, he's kind of, again, I said it with Deion Sanders, it's the same with Baker Mayfield. Like he leans into the villain arc. And so, yes, I was going to take him. He was one of my 3 that I wanted to consider for the last pick I had. But I chose the guy that was, manslaughter, but like instead of Lane Kiffin, which Lane Kiffin, like, yeah, Lane Kiffin, maybe, rumors and allegations of him sleeping around town and like all that type of stuff. But like, at least he didn't get involved with the scissor lift, just different type. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah. So Lane Kiffin is definitely loves to play the villain. I think he would be mad at us if he wasn't on the college football villain list. So it's a good pick. Tim.
I'm going to kind of, I think it's a bad pick. I'm just going to be honest. Sorry, Ben. I just don't think, okay. I don't think he's really like he's a character, but not like a villain in my mind.
How can you say that a guy that leaves his team before the end of the season is not a villain in college football?
Okay, that's fine.
He didn't leave his team. He took a different job and then wasn't there anymore.
It's not my fault. Ole Miss can't compete at the highest levels. That's not Lane's fault. I think of Lane Kiffin as a character, but that's probably more of my college football experience. But I get it.
I think Kiffin is a villain solely because 2024 Ole Miss didn't make the playoffs, and to leave that roster out of the playoff field by losing to Kelly, Stoops, and Napier is the equivalent of a war crime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair. Yeah. There we go. See?
So that'd be my answer.
Good job. Sam's going after the Mississippi vote, which is that's gonna propel him to doing pretty well. The Mississippi vote will be all in on college football with Sam for this poll.
SEC burnerverse is gonna go with Sam. Hey, that in Tennessee. Tennessee hates Lane Kiffin too, so it's in there. Yeah. Tim, your pick.
All right. I don't like really want to take this person, but they have to be taken. We have gone far too long to be in round 4, so it's just tremendous value. I have to take Nick Saban. This man, what are you looking at me like that for? What do you mean? Nick Saban dominated college football and was what every person had to like hate and try to beat. And then he takes a job at ESPN and just runs a total and is the sort of like voice of the SEC bias trade. Like, well, it's always different in the SEC. These schedules are, blah, blah, blah. Like, Nick Saban is absolutely one of the key villains of college football. Like, the problems that existed are totally by Nick Saban. And then the moment we started paying some kids some actual money on a pseudo concert on a contract of some kind, even though it's not the best contract, all of a sudden he's like, nope, I'm out. Not anymore. Ooh, what happened, Nick? You mean, so you don't like players being able to have their own freedoms? Get out of here. No, Nick Saban is a college football villain and deserves to be on this list. Listen, it's hard for him to compete with the number 1 and number 2 on my board. So I get it, but 4th round, I have to take Nick Saban. He belongs on this draft.
I'm going to go with my reaction first because it's so funny to read Tim's board, which I'll remind the audience and those on the audio is like Jerry Sandusky, Kevin Warren, Baker Mayfield, and Nick Saban. Like you are definitely like all over college football.
I'm diversifying my board. If you watch college football at all, there is somebody on my team that you're like, yeah, that guy is a villain for sure.
Yep. I wouldn't have taken him this high. I get it. I'm not Chris.
This high, he's
pick.
going like 17th overall. Like this is.
I just thought when you were setting it up, like, oh, this long, be on the board in the 4th round. I thought you were taking another name, so you shocked me.
Well, there is another name, but to me he's
Yeah.
just a comedy. This is just a comedy bit. It's
Okay.
not even
no
villainous,
tippet picks,
but
No
it's just a
tippet
comedy
picks.
bit. So
I know
it's an
I know.
honorable mention for me.
Any
I
other
wish I had,
reaction, Nick
10 more
Saban?
picks. I was
mean,
stunned.
yeah.
I did. Oh, sorry, Ben.
Go ahead, Alec.
Oh, I was gonna say, based on Tim's own pushback to Lane Kiffin like 5 minutes ago, I can't believe Nick Saban was then the next name. Like, again, I understand why somebody would call him a villain of college football, but to be as squeaky clean, quote unquote, as Saban was, to Trent's point again, to see it, you're bored and look at the dichotomy of it is it's comedy.
I'm diversifying my portfolio. Okay, it's like stocks. Like I've got one in every kind of industry and every sort of vertical.
He is a Kelly School of Business graduate. Everyone, Ben.
I mean, on that last pick, I was between Kiffin and Saban, and a big thing was, you're clearly paying kids, and the entire time you're there, and you're obviously winning titles, and like you're getting them there, and obviously developing them. And you have these great teams, but then once the playing field leveled, like you said, he just ran away. After, he lost the last game, he coached it, and someone came into his office and said, unless you give me $500,000, I'm leaving. He was like, well, it, I'm out. I can't, I'm not dealing with this. And also, I'm not on top of the mountain anymore because everyone can pay people now. And it's not a secret, even though it wasn't a secret.
Yeah. Sam, you have any reaction to Nick Saban?
I mean, I personally don't like the pick, but I could see why someone would pick it.
Yeah, agreed. I think you also, Tim, kicked the door open for another pick, but we'll see if anyone takes it. All right, Alec, you are going back to back. This is your 4th and 5th pick, so the last 2 picks of your draft.
I'm going to do it because he deserves to be on this board, and it is a homer pick, and it's recency bias, but he's put himself in this situation, and if I'm going to have one op this year in college football, it's going to be this man, and it's Sonny Dykes. It's Sonny Dykes. Like, completely uncalled for to take the quarterback who basically just got you I didn't see what the number, $7 million a year was the extension I think he just signed, and to just go out of your way. And he's been doing this for 2-3 months, even back to after TCU won their bowl game, where he had some side comments about like the quarterback sticking around and people will like who's is and isn't loyal to the program, or whatever those quotes were. But to shoot back up in the media, what was it, last week, and talk about the interceptions with Hoover, which, like, if you look at the ESPN stat sheet, like, yeah, he threw a bunch of interceptions, but to the point where Curt Cignetti felt like he had to come and respond in the media. Does he actually probably deserve to be on this list along with these other people? That might be up for debate, but he's on my list for sure. And so Sonny Dykes, welcome to the board.
Worst pick of the draft. Absolute worst pick of the draft. This is, Alec, for those who watch the best moments of the Curt Cignetti era, this is your Illinois Burt bending over at the knees pick. I'm interested to see, because everyone obviously in that pick, when I did it, Tim reacted like I'm reacting, then everyone agreed. So I'm excited. I'm interested to see if everyone agrees with me. But Sonny Dykes isn't smart enough to be a villain. Like, he's a boob. And he sucked at Cal. He was at SMU. Like, if you want to make the pick, like, he went from one rival to another. Like, that's kind of villainous behavior. But Sonny Dykes he signed an extension, and whatever the buyout number is what he's going to receive at the end of next year. Like, Sonny Dykes is an absolute boob. Sure, he made the comment about Josh Hoover, but I don't think he's like smart enough to realize that he was taking a swipe at Josh Hoover and not like talking about himself. So I think this is a terrible pick. Terrible pick, Alec.
I probably would have to agree too, because sure, in 2022 they were able to make a run, but ever since then they've been kind of a complete non-factor in their area. And he is not like, he isn't a really good head coach. I mean, it's I don't know. Like, I get to Indiana fans, he would be, but for like this topic here, like, does Sonny Dykes belong with Urban Meyer, Art Briles, Jerry Sandusky, Brian Kelly? I don't think so, unfortunately.
I will say, in defense of Sonny Dykes, anybody next to Art Briles and Jerry Sandusky
Yeah,
is like
that's
tough to
true.
read their names. So
Yes.
I have
Tim,
Josh
Ben,
Hoover's back. I just
do.
want everybody to know, when nobody on this panel had Josh Hoover's back, I had Josh Hoover's back.
Tim and Ben. Reaction.
No, it's a bad pick. You have one recent storyline. That's okay. Yeah, this might have tanked you out, but I don't know. We'll see. You have other good strong picks, but that was bad.
Ben, any reaction?
No. I did see this. I thought it was unnecessary. Him saying all that stuff, but yeah.
Besides, Ben doesn't pick them. You know, TCU supposedly changed their signs in 2022, right?
Yeah,
In that semifinal with Sonny Dykes and Max Duggan, who, again, by the way, to Alec's point, again, this is me. He's less of a villain and more of a boob. Is that like he didn't pick Max Duggan to be the starting quarterback that year?
Yeah.
And then he has the audacity to talk about Josh Hoover's quarterback play. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of defending you on that one, Alec. But all right, Alec. I mean, everyone's reaction. Let's see if you can make up for it here with this last pick.
I'm going to go with the idea of the preseason AP poll and the fact that it creates the narrative of here are the best 25 teams in the country, and here's what we're going to go by. This is gospel for the next 3, 4, 5, however many weeks until November, when the college football rankings come out, and we can debate the validity of those rankings. But the fact that they have a bunch of writers essentially send in, like, here's how these teams make me feel this week, and nobody has played a game of football yet, and then that creates the entire media coverage for the sport for 2-3 weeks is beyond mind-boggling. And so I'm going to say the preseason AP poll.
That's good, I would say. In past research I've done when trying to make my own previews and college football research, about half the AP poll finishes unranked at the end of the year, like half the preseason AP poll. So it's pretty horrifically inaccurate. And to have South Carolina ranked top 10 last year preseason is a joke. For Illinois to have ever been top 10 last year was an absolute joke. I mean, they even earlier in the year when they had like Michigan, I remember back in 2024, they had Michigan top 10 when they played Washington. It's like, if you just looked at power ratings or you watched their game against Texas, you know this isn't a top 10 team. Like, they're horrible. So their inability to adapt and respond and admit when they're wrong, it is deserving to be on this list.
Ben, you have a comment?
I think it's a really good pick. And to piggyback off everything everyone else is saying, it's like so much of it is also based on what the team did the year before. When like you bring up that TCU team in 2022, that then they haven't been much since. Like, they lost their entire squad, and then they show up the next year and end up being ranked because they got to the finals last year and lost by 58 to Georgia. I mean, you look at a lot of those teams and it's like, you're just basing this off of something. Man, I think it's pretty easy to decipher that, like, this team's probably not going to be what it was last year because they lost a bunch of people or for whatever reason. But every year that happens. So, and it's never not that way with all the other stuff you guys are saying as well. So I think it's a really good pick.
As much as I gave you a hard time about your last pick, I think this is a really good one. Because it is one creative. The only criticism I would have of it is it too limited in scope? Like, the AP voters all season are like, when they don't move people after they lose, or they go on interviews, and you know, that one USC beat writer that had that terrible interview that got everyone all worked up. That would be my only criticism, but I love the pick. I think for the 5th round, it's a creative one, and wasn't on my draft board, but I think that's a testament to how good it was. Tim, any reaction? And if not, you can go with your pick.
I'll roll into my. I think it's a creative pick. But it's probably too high level ball knower knowledge. Like, only ball knowers will see the problems that poll causes with the rest of college football. My pick, and I'm glad that I'm getting it before Ben. I can't believe it lasted this long. When I wake up on Saturdays in the fall and I think about who is filling my body and my blood with hate, who is getting me boiling. It's not even a person. It's not a team. It's not a media conglomerate. It is Brutus Buckeye and his ugly, smug face running around. The last thing I want to see is that effing bucknut romping around the field every time they score a touchdown, yelling OHIO and doing a spelling contest all the time. Absolute worst part of college football, Brutus the Buckeye. Get him out of here.
This board is unreal.
I know. I wish you would have taken him second so we could sandwich like Jerry Sandusky, Brutus Buckeye, and Kevin Warren.
That would be hilarious.
Listen, this is a royal flush of villains. That's what this is. Like, you can debate the order, but these guys nobody likes. Nobody likes.
While I think that pick is funny, I think it's a terrible pick. I think
it's a great pick.
Left on the board.
It is a great pick.
Like,
wait till that graphic comes out and I've got these 5 cards up there.
I don't even. Well, if you make it there, you got to make it to the graphic first.
You should have just said.
If I don't make it there, I'm calling out all of you about it.
Agree, Sam. Sam just said you should have taken Ohio State.
Yeah, like no one there. You can see it even in like how people talk about them in betting odds. They're kind of the closest thing in terms of perception to Alabama in the 2010s now. But I understand as a Michigan guy, like last year when they're kicking our rear in the big house and like Brutus is like spelling out the M and then crossing it out. It is kind of like the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, if you're trying to like who represents who represents Ohio State football? I mean, Urban Meyer's already been taken, so I can't take that. I guess Ryan Day and his
face that sits on the
side. Bill.
Oh, that guy.
There's
that guy could be
guy,
good.
Tim. I can't believe you. If you're looking for the actual Ohio State guy who fits the board for you,
it's that guy. It's the fan guy that they show every effing time.
No,
and listen, I'm okay. I'm good with Brutus. I will sleep easy. I also hate Brutus. Like that. I don't want to see that mascot anywhere ever. Like I would do some things. Let's just leave it at that.
We got Michigan guys taking Connor Stallions, and we got non-Michigan guys taking Brutus the Buckeye. It's an upside down world in this draft.
There is a donor for Ohio State that could have filled that spot.
Yeah, that's another reason why you take just Ohio State, because you can include maybe that donor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh
sure.
Yeah. That would have been
good. Yeah, that would have been good. Any other reactions? If not, Ben.
Well, I just want to say though, to defend Tim, I think that pick is absolutely hilarious, and to just like pick something out about Ohio State that's, I don't want to say harmless because of what Sam basically just described, what Tim just described, but to pick of all things, Brutus is I think very funny.
It is funny. I'm not denying that it's funny, and it will play on the graphic, especially if Ohio State fans pick it up. Tim, you could have just taken yourself, since you declared Ohio State is not a prestigious program as Florida.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Florida invented Gatorade. Sorry, better. Like, okay.
See the weather in Gainesville?
Oh, all right, Ben, your last pick.
I'm looking at the list and I'm having a hard time picking. But I think I got to go with Jim Harbaugh.
Whoa!
The self-loathing Michigan fan, Ben Buhr.
I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously, we enjoy what happened with him here, but also like from the satellite camps to sleeping over at recruits' houses to piping off about the revenue sharing, which obviously is good for the players, but was annoying everybody. The whole thing with COVID where he took the pay cut, made a big thing about that. And then obviously the last 3 years with, finally beating Ohio State, but also connected to my other pick, the Connor Stallion stuff. And then the way he left the program, took all our coaches, left them pretty much with nothing. And I know that kind of the timing of the title game got like, maybe not, you couldn't hit the transfer portal or whatever. And he didn't recruit another quarterback for a few years to maybe take JJ's place. And then obviously walking better than 8 years show cause is pretty brutal. So yeah, I mean, I feel like from day one at Michigan until when he left, he's just thumbing his nose at the NCAA, and which obviously, like, we all maybe kind of like that because the NCAA can off, but he was just
Number one
kind
pick
of
in this draft.
buttons all the time, and yeah.
Reaction?
Stunned again. I can't believe that's coming from inside the house.
The big house. It's inside the house. Sam, as a fellow Michigan fan, do you have a reaction to that?
I mean, I think there is definitely merit to it. I mean, with the whole Stallions thing and his personality, and the fact too that Michigan wasn't like a lot of people just didn't like watching him due to style or thought they couldn't win due to style, and then they did, often in ugly fashion. A lot of people at the end of 2023 just hated Michigan, and it was kind of a sharp divide of you either hate them or you admire their identity. So I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I think it's a good pick for how late in the draft it is.
I won't argue with an 8-year show cause.
Yeah, right. I mean, he disrupted college football, and also, I don't know, we've been kind of alluded to it, but how late he left them with Sharon Moore. Like, there was really no other option than going after Sharon Moore, because it was even after Kalen DeBoer, who I think would have been at Michigan. If Jim Harbaugh would have taken a job and left, now you'd wait until you have another job. But if the Vikings or somebody else hires, or it was the Bears, was kind of rumored around him at the time, but he ends up at the Chargers. If he goes to one of those earlier, they get probably a chance to evaluate and at least interview Sharon Moore, which it comes out that they didn't even interview. You would take the Michigan AD, not to tip picks, as another villain here. But
Right.
But yeah, Jim Harbaugh, he also leaned into the villain arc too. Like, he liked pissing off Nick Saban, doing his satellite camps and all that stuff. So yeah. Okay. If there's no other reaction, I will do mine. There's a pick that I want to take that if somebody's watching the podcast, they will love it. But on a graphic, I would get absolutely roasted for it. So I'm not going to take that pick.
I think what's the board say? You got to stay true to your board.
My board is chaos, so that doesn't really work. Mine, I don't have like it in order or anything of the sort. I'm gonna take it's really personal, but I think he's also kind of a bad guy. Hugh Freeze.
Oh, that's
good.
Yeah. So Hugh
That's
Freeze,
my comedy pick.
So Hugh Freeze, who stands on a moral high ground. We're recording this on Easter Sunday, so it's very fitting to take Hugh Freeze on a villain board on Easter Sunday. Takes a moral high ground. Coached at Liberty, which is a interesting university to say the least. Also gets fired from Ole Miss, and he gets fired for having hookers' numbers on his phone. Now, I think there's a common misconception that I don't think Hugh Freeze was getting the hookers. I think he was getting the hookers for recruits at the time. Like, that's one of the things that, that's a common misconception. But having said all that, Hugh Freeze, who had to agree to take the Auburn job, that he would stop searching his name on Twitter and responding to people that criticized him, like random anonymous accounts. Literal Hugh Freeze would slide into DMs or reply on Twitter. He's insecure. He uses as a shield his faith for some pretty scumbag behavior. And also, turns out, not great at coaching football. We found that out at Ole Miss and then Auburn. You can be a scumbag and be good at coaching football, i.e. Nick Saban, and go a long time. But Hugh Freeze is going to be on my list, and it's very personal, and I'm so glad he's fired, and I hope we're done with him from major college football. So, any reaction?
It's great value.
Not a scumbag move, but my favorite part about the entire Hugh Freeze experience is also him coaching from a hospital bed, which is just like one of the funnier things to have ever happened or existed. Like, Okay. All right, fine. Sure, dude. Yeah, we'll just get the play sheet up there and you can watch on the monitor.
I should actually point out he does have cancer, I think. So like I just want to like I hope he gets healthy and all that type of stuff. I just hope he never coaches major college football again. So sorry, should probably put that in there before Auburn fans roast me, but they're not listening by this time for as many negative SEC things we've said on this podcast. So all right. Sam, any other reaction? Sorry. Sam, Alec, Ben, any reaction? All right. We'll turn to Sam for your last pick, Sam. The Mr. Irrelevant.
Okay. So I'm actually I can't decide between a handful of them. So I need your guys' help. Player or coach? Or not player or coach. Player or program?
We don't
Like
have a lot of
football
players on it. We don't have a lot of players on this. We only have
So Alec
one
is program,
I think
Trent
there's
is
a-
player.
There's a player in my mind that should get drafted. I don't know if that's where you're thinking, Sam. I'm alluding to it, but that would be, I would lean player. If there's somebody I'm thinking that would be top of the honorable mentions list, but
I think a player needs to be
I'd lean player too.
taken.
Cam Newton.
whoa,
That is not who I thought you
that's
would
not the
go
player I
with.
was thinking of, but go off, King.
The fact that he carried Auburn and the whole thing about him possibly getting paid to go there and that whole controversy. And then I've heard people say that they hated him growing up because, you have LSU with like a ton of first round picks. 300 rushing yards on the ground. No one cares. Or
Right.
Alabama leads 24-0 at the half. Well, no one cares again. 28-27 win with an epic comeback. And he also, like, Oregon doesn't have a national title because of his existence. Alabama probably doesn't have 4 national title. Well, that team had issues, but Alabama doesn't have like 4 like BCS bowls in a row and
Right.
4 and like several wins over Auburn in a row because of his existence. LSU, because they beat Alabama that year, maybe could have played for a title if they beat him, but no. And then the whole antics in the NFL. And yeah, I think that he is a player that definitely embodied that role and played it very well. Oh, also stealing laptops at Florida. That plays
Big
into
one.
it too.
And also the Urban Meyer pick as well.
Yeah.
This plays into that. I think there's another player that I would have taken here if I'm taking a player that was on my list. But to your point, Sam, let's add in Cam Newton as the media member, where he literally said on ESPN that he wouldn't watch Iowa State and watch like all these other teams. Like, why watch them? Like, as he's supposed to be representing watching college football and the love of college football. So Cam Newton fell on my draft board as a media member as well, not just the players. But I will say,
who would have the player have been? Because we're over now.
Oh, we're over.
Draft.
Yeah. Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
Oh yeah. I can see that too. That probably would have been
Manziel.
better, but
He's
I
so
think
fun to
Newton's
watch, though.
close.
He was, but like he also like his post career also now is, not helping. Like he doesn't show up to game day for the pick at Texas A&M because he went to the Paul boxing match and he was probably too drunk to show up. Like that doesn't help with Johnny Manziel as it. But I did love like his disruption of college football. Like I did love that.
Yeah, some of us actually enjoyed watching Johnny Manziel because he was beating the villain Nick Saban. That's why.
Yeah. A&M also.
I think his villain in that season was more off the field with like the open drug use, hanging out with Drake, like knowingly like giving out
paid.
autographs for money, whatever,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just so you know, Sam and Ben, who are new to this draft, we do list off honorable mentions, people that were on our board. We kind of just quickly run through them, maybe add some commentary if there is extra people on there. So does anyone want to go first of listing their honorable mention? Like Sam's raising his hand. Why don't you go ahead, Sam?
It would have been either Jimbo Fisher, former Florida State and Texas A&M head coach, or George Kalaikov, the Pac-12 commissioner, when everything blew up.
Oh,
just briefly for each of them. For Kalaikov, you could have had a Pac-12 with Kyle Whittingham, Kalen DeBoer, Lincoln Riley, and Dan Lanning. And Riley and Lanning with NIL money and no one to play could have went 11-1 or 12-0 every year and just farmed the playoff. Like you could have had one of the conferences of the future, and now it doesn't exist. And for Fisher, it's just ruining FSU and then strip teasing everyone at A&M and ruining them too.
People should go read about how Jimbo Fisher left the Florida State program. Like that was so bad academically. Like Willie Taggart had no chance. I mean, he wasn't a good coach either, but he had no chance when he took over that program from.
Yeah, good luck with James
Jimbo
Blackman
Fisher
as your starting quarterback. Let's see how that rolls.
All right, who's next? Honorable mentions.
I have a little bit of a laundry list, but I can kind of fly through them.
Yeah, roll them off. Yep.
College football draft analyst Twitter, absolutely brutal. The Oregon Duck.
Yes. A mascot. Crazy.
Purdue for existing.
Yeah.
I wanted to do Syracuse and Pittsburgh for killing the Big East, but I actually found an article. Shout out to Luke Swanson from the Daily Campus, who said it actually goes back to a 1982 Big East conference vote to not allow Penn State into the conference by one vote. So that was the death of Big East football, which personally to me, I'm an East Coast guy, so that one hurts. The ACC conference strictly is a villain for running the Miami versus Notre Dame game for a week straight.
Oh,
that's
God.
that's hilarious, but that's just a villain move from the conference. People who blame NIL for ruining the game, like it's a bad thing players are getting paid. Jeff Landry, who I actually think you can blame more for the Lane Kiffin departure from Ole Miss. He's the governor of Louisiana, who was kind of like, no, I'm taking over the search and I'm going to drop the bag on the
Was
on
my
porch.
board. Was on my board.
Nice.
The booth official who called down to initiate the Micah McFadden targeting call, if people remember correctly, that wasn't called on the field. It was rained down from the booth. The Iowa Hawkeyes road locker room created by Hayden Fry. Hayden Fry was the Iowa coach who had a psychology background, I think, and he built the locker room to be pink so it would have a calming effect on opposing players. Sam, are you going to say something?
No, I just found that funny.
Oh, sorry.
Like, yes.
Harvey Updike, as we learned when all the Alabama fans are like, you guys got to increase the poison. Whoever designed the original Hoosier the Bison without eye holes, which caused the student to collapse and the bison to disappear for about 40, 50 years.
Killed an entire mascot, actually.
Whoever decided on international games to start off a season, not playing the biggest game of the weekend at night, Big Ten officials when Mikal Kamara is being held, and Notre Dame fans basically was the 25th one.
One of mine that I should have put up there was Fox for Big Noon Kickoff, to go to your point.
The Ohio State fans would have come out in droves to vote for you on that one.
Yeah, it's
I needed
awful.
Sonny Dykes on my board, and I think it might sink me, but I needed him on my board.
Ben, your honorable mentions. Anyone else you had in your list?
To piggyback off Sam with the Fox thing, Portnoy.
Yep.
Absolute embarrassment to Michigan. You know, with just how all the shit he said. All the he says is so outlandish. I mean, obviously, on one finger of one hand, thanks for the money, but like your banter and your like, you know, like when we were going to play Ohio State this year, and like obviously it was like we were going to lose, whatever. And he's this like his utter arrogance about and how all this that he says. I almost ashamed to have him a part of all of it. But like, and then his role and appearances on Big Noon Kickoff, he was awful and looked completely out of place. And I don't know if that was like Fox's answer to like maybe have a McAfee kind of like personality, which like McAfee or not, he kind of nails what he does. And Portnoy was awful. So, you know, that's kind of like where I'm at. I know you guys are kind of like looking at me with all these Michigan things, but like, you know, he just drives me insane. And another one, SMU, death penalty.
Yeah. Pony Express.
Yeah. How blatant it was, what the outcome was, and how the outcome was so bad for it turned out for them that no one's ever got the death penalty again for how it affected their program. I mean, it's just in the last maybe 10 years that they're starting to kind of retread, and this happened in like the early 80s. So a lot of the other ones I have on the list kind of suck. So but those are two ones I would have maybe gone with.
I had three. Clay Travis, he sucks. he pretty much he would have gotten taken if my board fell a different way or one of you guys sniped Brutus the Buckeye in front of me. But Clay Travis absolutely sucks. I was never really going to take it, and I was trying to figure out a way to phrase it or group it together. But I would call it loosely, and I wouldn't really pick them because I don't victim blame. But like attractive young staffers tend to get some coaches in trouble at all kinds of institutions.
Yeah.
Not good. But that's victim blaming. That's not really, they didn't do anything wrong. It's the coaches themselves. And then number three, if it was too broad, I got a specific one, but Big Ten referees. Big Ten referees are some of the worst. In particular, my number one villain forever is Dennis Lepisky, who refereed Indiana at Michigan, September of 2009, causes Bill Lynch to lose his gum that he was chewing all game because of some horrible calls that he made and allowed Michigan to win the game. We would have won in the Big House with one of our worst teams ever. Dennis Lepisky, Big Ten referees. Those are my top three honorable mentions.
I like it. I've got a lot. You guys know I love college football and the history of it, so I'm going to rattle these off real quick. The one that I was going to take that it would play awful on the graphic, but if people heard my explanation, they would like it, was Curt Cignetti. He's broken college football. Like, I love his villain arc of just ruining what people thought college football should be, which didn't include Indiana. So he was going to be on there. The other one,
it's a good thing you did. It's a good thing you didn't.
I know
with that.
They would have hated on the graphic. Sam, you picked the wrong Pac-12 commissioner that's to blame. It's Larry Scott. Larry Scott torpedoed the Pac-12 and mismanaged the Pac-12 network, and ended up the reason why they were in the situation they were was Larry Scott for me. Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, was the individual that led what was ended up being the demise. I know it wasn't all his fault. Paul Feinbaum. That was the one that I was shocked no one took.
He's on my
representing the SEC. If I wouldn't have gotten Greg Sankey, I would have taken Paul Feinbaum. Another guy that culpable in a player's death, DJ Durkin.
I thought of that when you mentioned that.
Former coach. Yeah,
still
coaching, and a lot of people wanted him at Auburn. They didn't give it to him, but he was wanted there. Woody Hayes, hit a Clemson player, ended his career. It seemed like kind of an all-time bad guy, or at least gruff guy. So he would have been on there. Paul Bear Bryant, representing segregation in the South at the time. Now, I know he ended up also segregating Alabama when he stopped winning. So I guess we give him his flowers for that, but he would be there. Sarkeesian seems like an awful dude, got fired for drinking and struggling with alcoholism, which isn't, that's a sickness and all that stuff. But he also doesn't help himself with his antics on the sidelines, like yelling at staffers on live TV. Bobby Petrino, speaking of young staffers and motorcycle accidents, and has been ran out of town everywhere he's been.
Racer.
This one's for Ben. He's probably the only one that kind of knows knows this reference. Oh yeah, it's he's at North Carolina now. Bobby Petrino. Fun fact. Lawrence Phillips. He represented the Nebraska teams in the 90s. Yeah. He got arrested and steroids and all that fun. Assault. He did a lot of domestic violence, and I think he's still in jail. Lawrence Phillips was an all-time bad guy for us K-Staters back in the 90s. Mel Tucker, pleasuring himself on a Zoom call with a sexual assault victim. You gotta mention his name. We mentioned Sharon Moore, obviously his antics that he was up to. Josh Pate, that's personal. Can't stand Josh Pate. Terrible person. The other one is Jimmy Sexton. You want to talk about coaching contracts being bad. Nick Saban's agent, Jimmy Sexton, who has completely ruined college football's pay scale. And finally, one that I wanted to take so bad, but I didn't think I could. The Blindside family, Michael Orr's family, the Tuohys, Leanne Tuohy, like all the stuff that's come out from the Michael Lewis book is that they exploited Michael Orr. He's suing them. They are an all-time bad college football villain. So that is our draft. Okay, so how we do this, Sam and Ben? You need to write down who you pick as the worst draft, who had the worst draft, not the best draft. You want to write it down early because we want to make sure you show it what you wrote down because we don't want you to be swayed by other people's picks. For those at home, I'm going to read the draft. Alec has the NCAA, Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech booster, ESPN college football coverage, Sonny Dykes, TCU's coach, and the preseason AP poll. Tim has Jerry Sandusky, Kevin Warren, Baker Mayfield, Nick Saban, and Brutus the Buckeye. Ben has Notre Dame, Connor Stallions, Miami of the 1980s, Lane Kiffin, and Jim Harbaugh. Trent, have Art Briles, Greg Sankey, Texas Longhorn Network, Brian Kelly, and Hugh Freeze. And Sam, College Football with Sam, has on 3, Urban Meyer, College Football Playoff Committee, Deion Sanders, and Cam Newton. So that's what we're choosing from. Let me write down my pick really quick. And
it's hard to pick a bad one.
Yeah, I think it was a good draft. I think people had a good draft. I think there's a clear.
I gotta be honest, guys. I don't think it's that hard.
I agree. I don't think it's that hard either. All right, Alec, why don't you go ahead and show yours first?
I think Trent nailed it. I'm too nice of a guy. I don't think I hit the assignment.
Voted for itself.
And it's only because to set the tone with the NCAA and to get blown out of the water with Jerry Sandusky sitting next to it. As much as I do believe in the NCAA pick, to have then the next pick be arguably like not even the top 5, like college football worst guy of all time, but like in the conversation for one of the worst people ever. Yeah. I think I'll humbly accept that one on the chin.
Tim, who'd you vote for?
I unfortunately went with Ben.
Okay.
As a worst draft. Sorry, Ben.
Ben, who'd you vote for?
I went Alec.
Alec. All right.
Tough,
Sam.
I also went with you probably can't really see it well, but no, there you can see it now. Alec.
Okay. All right. And Alec is my pick as well. Alec,
Ben.
Came in with the crown. He got voted. Ben got 1 vote. Alec got 4 votes from us. Alec voted for himself even, so he's not putting up much resistance. Alec does save us by getting voted off that now Jerry Sandusky will be the first pick on the graphic. So it's there. But the Sonny Dykes pick torpedoed it for me, man. Yeah.
I don't even think it was that one. I think it's the fact that Jerry Sandusky is sitting there at number 2. I think that's just
that's fair. That is fair. That is fair.
I don't know how much this reference will hit, but having the NCAA at 1, having Sandusky at 2 is then like in the 2003 Big 12 title where Oklahoma's quarterback, Oklahoma's already down to KSU by 21 points, and he throws like this awful pick 6. Like that's what that is. Like it's just like, okay, like this isn't even competitive.
Big miss, Alec. Big miss.
Yeah, I stand by it. Well, I think it fits, and I think you could make the argument that under the NCAA umbrella, Jerry Sandusky was allowed to operate. But no, like I said, I take that one on the chin.
All right. This has been fun, guys. Thank you so much for being on this draft. For those of you that are listening, a QR code is popping up right now. You're going to be able to vote if you're listening to the draft for who you think is best in the draft and give us this vote. Also, we asked for more draft ideas because we like to do these maybe once a month. And so give us some more draft ideas and maybe some more positive drafts so Alec can get back into the mix on with it. Obviously, Kirkwood and Dunn at Kirkwood and Dunn on TikTok and YouTube. Please subscribe, comment on Spotify, Instagram, all those fun things. It's all at Kirkwood and Dunn, everything. Ben, if you are in Ann Arbor, go to Sports Bar West Side and go visit there. It is one of the best spots in Ann Arbor, if not the best spot in Ann Arbor to catch games. And I will be there pretty much every Thursday. So if you want to come find me, that's where I am. But other than that, Ben's going to host hopefully a pre-party for the Indiana-Michigan weekend, which we're really excited about. Alec, voice of Indiana, voice of college football, Sigs Inside Pod. You can find him on Twitter at Alec Keezer. And then, of course, we've got the man, the myth, the legend that is Sam at College Football with Sam. Sam, you have different handles, so I want to make sure this is right. What is your handle on X and what is your handle on Instagram and TikTok?
Instagram and TikTok, I'm pretty sure it is College Football with Sam, just no spaces. X is CFBW Sam.
Okay, awesome. CFBW Sam, you go find him there. He's putting out content, cranking out content daily, it seems like, on his YouTube page. So like that. Guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. We hope you enjoy this draft. Go vote. We'll see you next. Goodbye.